Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanam Sari Yamuna Tira Vanam Sari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Radhe, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Gaura Pimanande, Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa, Pri Vraj Gacharya Stotra Satta, Sri Srimad His Divine Grace, Chirabai Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai, Kandiviti Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Samavata Bhakta Vrind ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai, Jai Sri Gauranitai ki Jai, Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki Jai, Dani Thai Gaura Pimanande. All glorious to be assembled devotees. All glorious to be assembled devotees. All glorious glories to be assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. That is a question. I think we should move inside. Yeah. Some drops are coming. More drops may come. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Hare Krishna. Yes. It's a moving class today. Hare Krishna. Yes. The whole procedure should take less than 60 seconds. Yes. Yes. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurimiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakadvitam Scha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee. All that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swasya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Asurabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Asurabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Asurabhyaya Namaha.
Mukam karoti vasalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatadanam yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatadanam. Hare Krishna. Well, the bodies are very far away. This empty space here, no mat. Yeah, it's like okay, we're continuing to read from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto number 1, chapter 10, text number
30.
30, 30, 30, 30. There's no 30, 30, only 30. Yes. Etaha param stritvam apastapeshalam nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate yasam grihat pushkara lochanaha patir na jatu apaiti aritibhir ridi sprisham eta param stritvam apastapeshalam Nirasta shocham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shocham vata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana pati.
Najat vapaityariti bir ridhi sprishan.
Najat vapaitya hridhi.
Eta param stritvam apastape shalam.
Eta param stritva apastape.
Nirasta shocham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shocham vata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana pati.
Najat vapatyariti bir ridhi sprishan.
Najat vapatyariti sprishan.
Meta param sritvam upastape shalam.
Eta param stritvam apastape shalam.
Nirasta shocham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shocham vata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana pati.
Najat vapatyariti bir ridhi sprishan.
Najat vapatyariti sprishan.
Param Sritvamapastapeshalam.
Eta param sritvam apasteshalam.
Nirasta shausham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam gruhat pushkara lochana pati.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Najat vapaitya hrutibir sprishan.
Najat vapatyat pritibir riti sprishan.
Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Eta param sritvam apastapeshalam.
Nirasta shocham vata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana pati.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Najat vapatyariti sprishan.
Najat vapatyat pritibiridi sprishan.
Eta param stritvam pastapesalam.
Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Nirstasta saucham vatsadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam griha puskarochana pati.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Najat vapatyahiti bihardhispara.
Najat vapatyat pritibiridi sprishan.
Eta param stritvam
Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Nirasta shaucham vata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana pati.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Najat vapatyariti sprishan.
Najat vapatyat pritibiridi sprishan.
Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana pati.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Najat vapati hridi sprishan.
Najat vapatyat pritibiridi sprishan. Srishan.
param sritvam apastape salam.
Eta param sritvam apastape
Shalam nirasta sucham bata sadhu kurvati.
nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Samgrihas puspakaraluchana pati.
Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir.
Jatu apeti arutirbi hirdi sparsam.
Najat vapai chakriti biriti sprishan. Etaha.
Etaha.
All these women,
All these women,
param,
Param,
highest,
highest,
stritvam,
Stritvam,
womanhood,
womanhood,
apastape shalam,
Apasape Shalam,
without individuality,
without individuality,
nirasta,
Nirasa,
without
without
shaucham,
Saucham,
purity,
purity,
bhattasadu,
Bhattasadu,
auspiciously glorified,
auspiciously glorified,
kurvate,
Kurvate,
do they make,
do they make,
yasam,
Yasam,
from whose,
from whose,
grihat,
Kriya,
homes,
Homes,
pushkararochanaha,
Pushkaralochanaha,
the lotus-eyed,
the lotus-eyed,
patihi,
Patihi,
husband,
husband,
najatu,
Najatu,
never at any time,
never at any time,
apaiti,
Apaiti,
goes away,
goes away,
adritibihi,
Adivihi,
by presentation,
by presentation,
ridi,
Riddhi,
in the heart,
in the heart,
sprishan,
Krishan,
endeared.
endeared.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Raghava Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Kindly repeat after me. All these women
All these women
auspiciously glorified their lives
auspiciously glorified their lives,
despite their being
despite their being
without individuality
without individuality
and without purity.
and without purity.
Their husband,
Their husband,
the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead,
the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead,
never left them alone
never left them alone
at home.
at home.
He always pleased their hearts
He always pleased their hearts
by making valuable presentations.
by making valuable presentations.
Purport. The devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, the Lord accepts them, and thus the devotees at once become free from all material contaminations. Such devotees are above the three modes of material nature. There is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the filthy drain water when they are amalgamated. Women, merchants, and laborers are not very intelligent, and thus it is very difficult for them to understand the science of God or to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. They are more materialistic, and less than them are the Kiratas, Hunas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Kankas, Yavanas, Kashas, etc. But all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. By engagement in the service of the Lord, the designative disqualifications are removed, and as pure souls, they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord played with them as the most devoted husband. The Lord used to live with his 16,108 wives constantly. He expanded himself into 16,108 plenary portions, and each and every one of them was and every one of them was the Lord himself without deviation from the original personality. Yeah, every one of the expansions. The Shruti mantra affirms that the Lord can expand himself into many. As husband of so many wives, he pleased them all with presentations, even at a costly endeavor. He brought the Parijata plant from heaven and implanted it at the palace of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If therefore anyone desires the Lord to become one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. Translation again. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives, despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Now, this could be considered as a controversial purport and topic in modern day society. We need to understand the context and we could say the underlying tattva, Vedic literatures, and all matters in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are presented by great personalities. The whole Bhagavatam, as we know, of course, is presented by Srila Vyasadeva. And it is narrated and distributed widely. It is meant to be distributed widely at present by the efforts of our more recent acharyas. This knowledge, specifically the knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, which is the essence and the most important aspect, of course, of the Vedic literatures, is being introduced more and more all over the world. So here the topic is specifically in reference to the ladies who were 16,100 princesses had been kidnapped by this very ambitious demon, Bhaumasura. So it is said that actually as soon as, in the Vedic culture, as soon as a young girl leaves a home prematurely or without proper arrangement, then she is considered as, we could say, impure, because generally, if a woman, a young girl especially, is left on her own, there are good chances that she becomes exploited. She can easily be exploited. Women can easily be misled. Here, Prabhupada is referring to various grades of individuals within society. Just like children, by nature, are meant to be protected, isn't it? Because they are having, we could say, less knowledge. They're children, isn't it? They still don't understand so many things, and they are very easily exploited, actually, which is one of the major problems in modern day society. The exploitation of those who are more, we could say, vulnerable. Children are vulnerable because by nature they're meant to be dependent. By nature they are more innocent. Women are also vulnerable in that if they're not properly cared for and exploited and protected, rather, they become exploited. Yeah. Those who are elderly people are more vulnerable because they depend on the care and protection of other family members. Cows are also vulnerable because they are dependent on the proper care and protection of their masters, isn't it? So, therefore, these particular individuals within society, they are listed actually as the ones who need to be given most protection. The point, of course, in the very text itself is that these young girls, because they had been kidnapped, stolen by this Bhaumasura, therefore they were considered impure. Here it mentions actually that they lost their purity and they lost their individuality. why they lost their individual. That's what it mentions, right? Without individuality. How can one lose one's individuality? Or how to? Of course, one cannot lose one's individuality, but young girls, uh, they they're meant to be married by or with rather a qualified um, person, qualified young man. So, how to understand that they lost their individuality? Anyone? Huh? Brahma Jyoti. They're not yet in the Brahma Jyoti, and anyway, they're not going there because they were. Yeah, I think you're making the point that, in one sense, when those who aspire to actually merge with the Lord and who merge in the Brahma Jyoti, then they seemingly lose their individuality because there's no opportunity for exchanging. Generally, we exchange um, from one individual to another, and in the Brahma Jyoti, there's no one to exchange with, or the Lord is not there with whom to exchange. So, so the point that is being made here is that actually, because they were in a very difficult situation, they prayed um, to be delivered, and Lord Krishna actually, the only way they could be saved, because nobody would marry them after leaving home and uh, not following the Vedic system of actually being uh, married to a duly qualified young man. So Krishna, therefore, to resolve that problem, accepted them all as his wives, and that's why Dwarka has 16,108 wives. And of course, this will be considered as, what is it? Mythology. Very nice story. Kind of interesting story. Somebody having 16,108 wives. But for Krishna, if we understand the proper tattva, and that's a challenge, of course, to materialistic or atheistic people. But for the devotees of the Lord, this, we could say, is an impetus for further appreciating the glories of the Lord. He is um, omnipotent, in that he can do anything, uh, and in this case, he also demonstrates his omnipresence by expanding himself 16,108 times. And the purport also, Prabhupada explains what is meant to be the role and responsibility of a qualified husband. Means in the Vedic times, especially this was seen, the wind. This was seen in the royal family, and is meant to be followed actually in all, um, we could say, families, that the wife or women in general, they are meant to be protected. Vedic culture does not allow or does not encourage that women, mingle or mix, um, what is it, indiscriminately uh, with with men, isn't it? There is a very uh, clearly uh, outlined standard that is there in the Vedic culture, which nowadays, of course, is practically totally gone, and therefore we need to understand what is meant to be the standard, and we need to uh, take the necessary steps and actions for actually reestablishing uh, such Vedic standards. If we are to reestablish Vedic culture, there needs to be um, proper understanding of what is family life, what are meant to be the role and responsibilities of the husband, the role and responsibility of the wife. For example, nowadays, as we know, because we live in such a competitive society, because the standard of life is high, um, at least from an external um, point of view. People live with all kinds of facilities and opulence, and in order to meet that high standard of life, this has become more and more a standard. Both the husband and the wife have to work. This is not Vedic culture. Uh, of course, because generally the question would be asked to the male or to the husband, what is your occupation? What is your job? What is your profession? Nowadays, nowadays that question is asked to both husband and wife, uh, because one does not understand that actually to be a housewife and to be a mother and a housewife is a profession in itself. It's a whole occupation, which requires actually a lot of training, uh, which requires a lot of expertise. Mm. When Narada Muni describes the duties and responsibilities and the qualities of women in the seventh canto, he covers these aspects. And because we are not following, we have deviated actually with what is meant to be, or from what is meant to be the actual standard. We have introduced in society so many irregularities that are having all kinds of very uh, negative effects, very destructive actually to all the individuals within the family. As a matter of fact, modern day society has put uh, in danger, um, that's putting it lightly, um, is challenging the very, um, uh, we could say, existence of what we call the family nucleus. Family nucleus means there should be, if we want to actually raise children properly, there should be qualified father and qualified mother. Family nucleus means there's a mother and father and children. Of course, in the Vedic culture, there's more than just mother, father, and children. They have what is called extended family. Extended family, you, that used to be the norm or the standard in many places. That means that in one house, uh, and the houses would be much bigger than they are now, there would be many families. Like the brothers would stay together with their wives, and there was a whole system. So um, the Prabhupada makes a number of points in the purport in terms of the the role and responsibility of a husband in terms of also a very important point, regardless of one's previous fallen condition, isn't it? When we have this great fortune of coming in contact with this process of devotional service, when we are fortunate to come in contact with Krishna, then we should not judge or look upon someone based on his previous material background, material situation, which is a very basic and fundamental point. Prabhupada would make this point in the context of his approach in preaching, which was very, we could say, innovative, by leaving India, by going to the Western countries, by introducing Vedic culture to people who were not at all born in had no connection whatsoever with the Vedic culture, with the proper understanding that actually everyone by nature is an eternal spirit soul, and everyone has access, is meant to have access, should have access to the practice of bhakti and devotional service. And Prabhupada even mentions that one who actually fully absorbs oneself in this way becomes situated above the modes of material nature. That is the, as mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha, this activity, this quality of devotion. It is within the heart of all living entities. It is the eternal nature and quality. Krishna Bhakti Nitya Siddha, not something that is brought in externally. It is within each and every jiva, and simply it needs to be awakened, isn't it? So therefore, it means that when we deal with others, we should be very cautious to see the external features or to judge according to previous background, etc. Prabhupada makes reference also to different different people or different, let's say, communities who were, because especially in Kali Yuga this has happened, became separated from Vedic culture. So regardless of those different, we could say, communities or cultures, anyone by coming in contact with the process of devotional service can be fully benefited, and this example is being given in the context of these 16,100 and 16,100 they were princesses who had been kidnapped actually by this Bomasura. So in other words, Krishna is not only teaching by speaking, but Krishna is also showing, isn't it? This is an example of Krishna accepting um, accepting these princesses and we could say taking them out from their fallen condition, impure condition, and giving them that opportunity, which is very rare to actually directly associate with him. And this is um, this is the mercy of the Lord, is that He is even though all of us, everyone actually in the material world, we have become we have become contaminated uh, due to our association with the modes of material nature. But Krishna is ready and willing. So many examples are there to bring to give an opportunity to such individuals, to such fallen individuals. We can think of Jagai and Madai, since we are here in Navadvip, as the examples during the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So regardless, there's no one who is disqualified. We hear actually from our acharyas that this is the special, we could say, the special feature of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that he has descended for those who are the most fallen, which is all of us who are here in Kali Yuga. So, like this, Prabhupada is making some important points here in the purport. Anyone has some question on this? Yes.
My Prabhuji says, Prahlad Prabhuji says once time to me, until and unless we not establish the food is free, the education is free, or the hospitality is free, then we cannot uh, make a moral society.
Food,
Food, education, and the
education,
hospitality.
and hospitality free.
So, uh, uh, by by their mission, we can make gurukuls. But how can we free hospitality, or how can we free uh, food,
How we can make food free?
or how can we make hospitality free for everyone to establish varnashram?
So the question is, these three things are Prahlad was mentioning are meant to be there: free food, free uh, hospitality, and free. What's the third
Free
one?
education.
Free education. Yeah.
And nowadays we are seeing these are the three things where which uh, most of the money goes.
We're wasting.
मतलब we are keep
People spending the most of their money for the three things: food, medicine, and education nowadays.
Yes. So yeah, because in the Vedic culture, uh, Vedic culture is arranged in such a way that mm, there are certain things which are not meant to be sold, isn't it? Education being one of them. Because when we understand the value of knowledge, the importance of knowledge, both spiritual as well as material, and who can give this knowledge, who's qualified to give the knowledge, and who's qualified to receive that knowledge, only then we will be able to understand that actual knowledge is meant to be uh, given and received as mercy, not something that we pay for, not something that is seen as a commodity that you can buy on the market. So, in the Vedic culture, where the majority of people have land, if everyone has land, just I remember one time visiting one place, and we wanted to purchase, what was it? I think some guava, but there was no guava for sale because everyone growing their own guava. When there's plenty of guavas, when everyone has guava trees, who's going to sell guavas, right? So in the Vedic culture, majority of people are connected with land, and therefore there's no need to sell food. You can exchange. The barter system was there because you may not generally you don't grow, may not grow everything. So some things you grow maybe more, and then you can exchange like that. So that's why also cows that also cows are meant to be included in that list as well. Cows are not meant to be sold. Milk is not meant to be sold because we are now in our modern system we are selling food. Therefore, we adulterate the food. We add water to the milk because it's the same color. We don't know, right? Uh, so it means that actually uh, the establishment of the Vedic culture, in particular Varnashrama culture, will only happen when um, the leaders in society and the general mass of people have been trained and educated in this manner. That majority of people are meant to be, their activities are meant to be connected with cows and with land. If the majority of people uh, in this way are engaged, then everyone will be producing their own food. Uh, or majority of people will be able to meet their basic necessities in terms of food, uh, and there will be we will have a very different understanding in terms of what is meant to be education. Nowadays, in the name of education, we have created all of these big buildings and big universities and spending so much of money, uh, basically to train individuals to fit in with the artificial system that is existing today. So, what is meant to be the natural system, let's say, for meeting one's necessities of life, In other words, occupation, agriculture, which is the main occupation, the main economy in the Vedic culture, when majority of people are again reconnected in this way, then the problem of food becomes resolved. The problem of education also, because education mainly in the Vedic culture is for those who are very qualified to actually uh, deepen the subject matters that are especially meant for those who will be the natural leaders in society, means the brahmanas and the kshatriyas. That's a whole major topic in terms of education. Majority of people are actually meant to receive what is called non-formal education, or like majority of people are meant to take up some kind of apprenticeship, isn't it? What we call in modern day society vocational training. You're familiar with the term? They use that term, vocational training. It's there in different countries, but that's what the majority of people. So it's interesting about, what is it? Hospitality. That's part of the question. Free, what is it? Free hospitality. Um, yeah, nowadays it's like um, you have all of these like restaurants where people, the public goes to so many for um, for eating. So many people now they go to restaurant, or people when they travel they have to stay in some hotel. In the Vedic times, we were discussing the other day, there were dharmashalas. So it's only in the dharmashala you don't have to pay. And people who look after the dharmashala, they honor and respect their guests. It's like, so in other words, when the whole payment system, whether it's education or food or in terms of accommodation, is not needed, then naturally people will be having good exchange between themselves. There will be, I guess, what you call free hospitality nowadays. Nowadays, you have to pay, isn't it? You have to pay. People are nice to you because you're paying. That is not Vedic. People should be respectful to one another without this monetary kind of exchange. So, in other words, the more we understand and apply the principles of dharma, then things become normalized. Whereas now the opposite is there. Everything is abnormal. Everything is artificial. So it means that Krishna consciousness, the primary goal and objective, is helping us, all of us, to again become normal. We are abnormal now. Abnormal. What does abnormal mean?
Higher than normal.
No, abnormal is the opposite. It's like if someone is sane. Sane means is the opposite of crazy, insane. To be sane means to be uh, healthy mentally. So Krishna consciousness is meant to bring us from a diseased condition to a healthy condition, from an abnormal condition of being on the bodily platform and therefore in constant competition in constant mood of exploitation because we are fixed on our own self as being the object of enjoyment. So it means that the consciousness, Krishna consciousness, is meant to purify our consciousness so that we understand what is the proper way, how to interact with one another, how to deal with nature, how to how to grow food basically for our basic necessities. That what is it? Maxim is there. Produce produce only what you need. Very important principle, which is not at all followed in modern day society. Produce only what you need, and what is the other one?
Use only what you.
Use only what you produce.
Yes.
I've been trying to explain that to Rameshwar Prabhu. He has some understanding, but if tomorrow morning or this morning we are to use only what we produce, we'd be in trouble.
Independent.
Yeah. So the more we are dependent on outside for whatever, then it means we are not understanding these principles. These are two very basic fundamental principles. We should produce only what we need, isn't it? But nowadays we cannot do that. I mean, we can if we take certain measures, but the whole modern society is totally, we could say, teaching us the opposite. Get as much as you can, increase more and more, etc. So it's a whole different, we could say, mentality, different way of thinking, which can only be understood or appreciated when our consciousness is purified. Without purified consciousness, all of the important instructions that are given, Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, will not be appreciated, will not be understood. So yes, that is why, for example, our Gurukul here will be available to those who will be chosen by by the authorities, and it will be providing a free education to the students who are here. Yeah. With the idea of gradually understanding, or gradually introducing rather, what is meant to be the Vedic norm and the Vedic standard. And therefore, not only are students meant to receive free education, but those who are teachers are also to teach, are meant to teach without expectation of salary. The whole, what is it? Dakshina,
Yes.
Dakshina system. Now it's very difficult to introduce because people don't even know. Even our own devotees are not trained in that way. But we have to gradually introduce these concepts, these principles, because they are the foundational pillars of what the Vedic culture is all about, isn't it? Huh? Okay. Okay, we can close for now. Jai Kantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.